central nervous system. It's a part of nervous system. Nervous system really it's a first part of the nervous system, and nervous system it's central nervous system. There are different segmentation structure. For example, it's the segments of the spinal cords. Peripheral nervous system with spinal nerves, neuron types, autonomic nervous system, and different. Brain and spinal cord, it's a part of the central nervous system, and you very good understand well located this structure. Yeah, brain located in a cranium or skull, and in a vertebral column located spinal cord. Spinal cord with different spinal nerves and roots. And peripheral nervous system, nerves that go out to touch it in the body, and peripheral nervous system. It's not only spinal nerve; it's a really cranial nerves and different ganglion on the way of the different nerves. Coronal section, brain, cranial cavity of the skull, spinal cord, vertebral arch, cranial nerves. It's a 12 pair of the cranial nerves, and very popular mnemonic technique for remembering cranial nerves. It's some picture with unreal used number in a rhyme. It's a really name of the cranial nerves. First, this one rhyme numbering, and Arabic numbering used for remembering. And if, for example, drawing, you can now open the sum list or your notebook and replay with me this variant. First one in the middle part, you write in number 1. It's an olfactory nerve. It's a place in the face where located our nose. Number two, optic nerve. 2 optic nerve, right and left, located near our eyes. Number 3, it's an oculomotor nerve. Oculomotor nerve number 3. This variant, or maybe may present variant where number 3. Moment. In this variant, sorry. This one. Okay. This one, oculomotor nerve. And number 4, it's a trochlear nerve located in, for example, in this variant. Number 5, it's a trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve, it's a big parts and big nerves with 5. Number 5 in this variant. Trigeminal nerve, it's a 5/5 pair with 3 branches. First, ophthalmic, second, maxillary, and third, it's a mandibular nerve. Number 6, 2 nerve in a lateral region, abductor nerve. And number 7, it's a biggest nerve, facial, 2 facial nerve in the lateral. In 8 pair, it's a number 8 vestibulocochlear nerve. It's well located here. And number 9, 10, and 11. Number 9 and 10, it's located near tongue. 9, glossopharyngeal. 10, it's a vagus nerve. 11, very interesting, it's a accessory nerve in the lateral region located our shoulder girdle, and 12, hypoglossal nerve. This variant, for example, for remembering 12 pair of the cranial nerves, and when in the future we will have, for example, lecture about cranial nerves, we will replace this information. And but today you remember parts of the big roots and big nerves with starting in the cranium, in the skull, in the brain stem. It's 12 pair of the cranial nerves. And in the spinal nerves, it's how many open now in the chat, and I have proposition time to time you will write in the chat information about, for example, how many spinal vertebrae, cervical vertebrae in a vertebral column, how many? Write in please in the chat. 7, great. And but differences in the spinal nerves, it's 8. And please remember 8 cervical part of the spinal nerves, but vertebra 7. It's a differences in bones and spinal in nervous system. Why? Because first cervical spinal nerve starting between occipital bone and first cervical vertebrae atlas. Yeah. Next one, 12 pairs of the thoracic part, 5 lumbal and sacrum, 5 2. And some variant why present 8, because 8 cervical nerves, because first starting between occipital bone and atlas. Great. And next one, it's you remember transverse view X section, for example, standard lumbal vertebrae, and spinal cord will be located in a place foramen of vertebrae. In a sagittal view, when connecting two vertebrae, connect incisor inferior in the up part and incisor superior in the inferior part, and together it will be starting intervertebral opening. In this is opening starting moving spinal nerves, and really interesting dermatomes. It's we will continue about this information in the next time, but dermatomes, it's a sensory area of the spinal nerve in a different region in the skin. So what part do you know that are in the nervous system? Please write in the chat now. Type in the chat, please. And look, only 3% now, 5%. Type in yes. reservoir, central and peripheral. Okay, yes, central and peripheral, the peripheral nervous system, and in a central part, it's a brain and spinal cord. Yes, peripheral nerves, it's a peripheral nervous system, but not only peripheral nerves, it's a what does it mean, peripheral nerves? It's nerves, ganglion, and nerves, spinal nerves and cranial nerves. Okay, it's some section of the brain, and very interesting part. It's maybe you know what is organ. It was in the last semester.
Pineal gland.
Pineal body, yeah, great pineal body and pineal gland. It's part of the central nervous system, but it's endocrine gland located between two colliculus superior of the midbrain. But it's not part of the midbrain, it's a part of the endocrine glands, and really it's connected with diencephalon. So, what makes up the brain, the spinal cord, or your peripheral nerves, please? Your variant. Wake up, dear students. Don't sleep. Nervous are as a cell body, nucleus, axon, dendrite. It's a some structure in a peripheral nerves. It's an imaging of the electronic special diagnostic nervous cells, and how are neurons connected. The first time it's main parts in the nervous system, and in all our body it's a synapses. Synapses, it's a part where making dendrite and axon and bodies two neurons, and without this connection, it's an unreal reflexes. And reflexia, it's a very important part in all life, some person. And some variant when our eyes have some picture, and this information moving to the brain, to the occipital lobe, were located central of the vision, and next time it's a reaction of to the muscle, and you know different reflexes, knee reflexes, for example, it's very important too. And synapse, it's a signal between ending part one neurons, and really it's not connected, because present only chemical connection, some structure in a presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane, and time to time you can meet information nervous impulse same with electric impulse. It's not really true. So, and information impulse can move in only in a one line. If information nervous impulse moving in this line, not really used this fibers for back moving information. So and in human brain 100 billion neurons, and what your opinion about how many neurons are in the spinal cord? What your variant, please write in the chat. Some numbering, how many, please? Absolutely. 1 billion. Oh, near, yeah. Million, billion. Yes. So, how many synapses are in a one neuron? What do you think? How many synapses? Yes. Synapses in a one neuron is 1,000 or 2,000, and it's a one neuron because big portion this one, yeah. You can look in a okay, and our brain is a central part of the central nervous system, and very interesting picture. Maybe you can write in only one name structure, this red color. What is part of the brain? We talked about this a few minutes ago. What part of the brain in the red color in this picture, please? Pineal gland is here, pineal gland or pineal body, and it's a part. Hypothalamus, it's a part of diencephalon, and in this picture, this is place where present foramen magnum of occipital bone, and the color it's a spinal cord. And if we will numbering how many parts in this picture of the brain, very simple. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have proposition to you. You will start in a practical lessons studying of the brain and find number 6 in the brain. First time it's a 6 part of the brain. It's a medulla oblongata or bulbus as a name. Next one, it's a pons and midbrain. For remembering, very simple. If you make your finger and medulla oblongata, next one it's a pons, at mid finger it's a midbrain. Together it's a 3 parts. Will be brain stem. Brain stem, it's a part connection with in the up part in the diencephalon, and diencephalon. Big finger on some, it's will be cerebellum, and in a posterior part will be located cerebellum, cerebrum, and cerebellum. And maybe Shadi, can you replace this information? 6 part of the brain. I'm showing to you, and you replay. Medulla oblongata, pons. Next one, midbrain, diencephalon, cerebrum, and cerebellum. Please, Shadi.
Can you repeat them?
Yes, 6 part of the brain. Brain stem consists of this medulla oblongata, pons, and midbrain. Next one, it's a diencephalon located between cerebrum and midbrain. Fifth part, it's cerebrum, and six, it's a cerebellum. Please replay.
Okay, so I got the brainstem, the
parts,
medulla
yes.
oblongata, the diencephalon, the cerebrum, and the cerebellum.
Not together, number 6.
No, they're still missing one.
Please replay. Medulla oblongata with finger. Medulla oblongata. Replay with me with finger. With me with finger. Medulla oblongata. Next one. It's a pons. And midbrain. Midbrain. 3 parts of the brain stem. It's a medulla oblongata, pons, and midbrain. Line between spinal cord and brain. It's a 3 variant. First, foramen magnum in the occipital bone here will be present. Yeah. Next one, it's a starting first pair of the spinal nerve in this region. And third, it's a decussation of pyramid in the medulla oblongata. We will continue and you will look in where this structure present. Brain stem, 3 parts: medulla oblongata, pons, and midbrain. Replay. Medulla oblongata, pons, and midbrain. It's a 3 parts. Brain stem. Brain stem. Next one, diencephalon. Diencephalon, very simple for understanding. Well located because connected with hypophysis. Hypophysis located in a thoracic cella of this sphenoid bone here. Yeah. And this one, it's a epiphysis or other pineal body. Pineal body. Next, it's a biggest part. It's a cerebrum with cortex, well-located centers, different centers, and small part in the occipital region, near occipital part of the cerebrum. It's a cerebellum. Please remember first number 6. Number 6 in a brain. And it was you, yeah, a few minutes ago. Brain, it's a very popular structure in a different picture for in a medicine, and nervous system terminology. It's a main structure in a nervous system. It's a gray matter, mostly nerve cells body, and different structure located in this region. White matter, mostly myelinated axons, and nerve fibers. And nerve and bundle of the axon in the peripheral nervous system. But this is white matter. It's not same with nerve, same with a special membrane. And white matter present and gray matter present in the central part and peripheral part. Tract, bundle of axon in the central nervous system. It's a ways of the fibers with information, with impulse. Ganglion is a cluster of nerve cells body in a peripheral nervous system, and nucleus gray matter in the central nervous system with common function. So, nervous system have function, coordinates the activity of muscle, organs, sense organ, and senses and action, made up of nervous tissue, and has a main 3 function: receive sensory input, integration, and dictates motor output. It's a one variant when present, reflex or some variant. General organization of the nervous system, 2 division, central and peripheral. in an anatomical classification, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system, it's a brain and spinal cord. And other structure in a nervous system, it's a afferent division sensory input, efferent division motor input, somatic nervous system, and autonomic nervous system. This one, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. And some schematic, very popular somatic sensory receptors and visceral sensory receptors. Next one is located in the peripheral nervous system, sensory information within afferent division, brain and spinal cord, information processing, and next one, motor command within efferent division, includes somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. After somatic nervous system, effectors will skeletal muscles, and in autonomous nervous system, as the name autonomic nervous system, it's a vegetative. Vegetation, it's a digestion process, yes. Parasympathetic and sympathetic, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, glands, adipose tissue. What muscle in this variant absent? Skeletal muscle. You remember three types of the muscle. It's a skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle. Skeletal, it's a somatic nervous system innervated effectors, and smooth muscle and cardiac muscle innervated, for example, it's a sympathetic and parasympathetic part nervous system. In this picture, spinal cord, one color pons and medulla, yes, and midbrain located between diencephalon and pons. Midbrain with a special cavity. This is different cavity in the brain. It's especially for cerebrospinal liquid. Next one, here. Brainstem, green color, gray, and red color together, midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. Next one, yes, some question. Yes,
Is that fourth course class?
Break?
No, is that fourth course class? Is that clinical physiology or not?
It's a human anatomy now.
Okay. No, I'm so sorry for interrupting you. Thank you.
If you, for you comfortable, you can stay in, no problem.
No, you know, it's we have in our schedule clinical physiology. When I joined this link, I found myself in your lecture.
Who your teacher now?
Our teacher, let me get his name. His name is Kovalchuk.
Kovalchuk, it's only human anatomy. It's a mistake in your register and human anatomy. Yes,
I get it.
Anatomy, histology, it's a other name and other department.
Yes, I guess it's a wrong schedule. There is some mistake. So thank you so much.
Okay, I don't know, but if you want, you can stay at this lecture, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Gyrus, gyri, plural of the gyrus. Gyrus in a brain to have number 6. Frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal, and in the internal structure of the brain present limbic and insular lobes. It's a lobes. Gyrus located in a lobes between two gyrus present sulcus. Sulcus between gyrus. Gyrus, it's this structure in a lobes. Sulcus between some gyrus. Here, gyrus, Next one, between two gyrus, for example, precentral, postcentral, located fissura. Fissura, it's a long structure, same with starting via sulcus to the internal structure of the brain. And big portion, different center located in a cortex, in gyrus located gray matter. It's a cortex gray matter, and in some region present different center of the different structure. What differences red color in this picture and imaging and this one? In this picture, what region of the brain here?
Midbrain.
Midbrain, great. Midbrain, if you will in anterior view, located near horizontal, located near eyes. And here it's a diencephalon, yes? Diencephalon with hypophysis and with thalamus. Thalamus, big part of the diencephalon. Here it's a brain stem with diencephalon, and in a brain stem present two surfaces, anterior and posterior, but more correctly, it's a dorsal part and ventral part. Why? Because brain stem not located in a vertical position, in some angles, and where ventral and dorsal surface present in a brain stem. In a brain stem, in a dorsal surface present some structure with name rhomboid fossa. When connection to this region, two hemispheres of cerebellum, it's a place where located fourth ventricle. Fourth ventricle in a brain, it's a place where circulation cerebrospinal liquid, and this liquid will move in next time in a subarachnoid spaces. It's a all structure of the brain will connect with this liquid in all regions, in a spinal cord and in a brain. Next one, it's information schematic. We told about this, and different central part and peripheral part. You can look in some autonomous nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric and somatic part of the peripheral nervous system. Brain have some parts: brain stem, cerebellum, cerebrum, diencephalon, spinal cord located in the vertebral column, the brain and spinal cord central part, and peripheral part. It's a all structure with nervous tissue after brain and spinal cord. Next one, in our brain present some lobes. Frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal, insular, and very important moment. It's a development of the neural tube from embryonic ectoderm. It's especially for students who now have, for example, histology. But you understand histology and cytology, it's a microanatomy. And when you now located in an anatomy lecture, very simple to remember, first time was the neural plate in the embryon. Next one, neural fold moving together, and location, especially neural crest in this region. It's a 19 days, 20 days, 22 days connecting neural groove, and next one in a 26 day, it's a neural tube. This is neural tube located in a all long way in a rostral, starting with rostral. Rostrum doesn't mean nasal part, and in a cauda, it's well located in a human body, sacral bone, and rostrocaudal line. It's starting in a near nose, in a hand, in a head, and moving to the vertebral column, and this is neural tube. Next time in a development, starting process for primary brain vesicles. First time it's a prosencephalon, its other name it's a forebrain, where in a finish will be located cerebrum and diencephalon. Three studies. First time it's a three studies of the primary brain vesicles: prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon. If we will continue mesencephalon not changing in the secondary brain vesicles when present 5 big parts, and mesencephalon in the finish, it's a midbrain in a brain stem with cerebral aqueduct. Cerebral aqueduct, it's a cavity or special structure for cerebral spinal liquid. Next one, rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon or hindbrain with secondary brain vesicles will be metencephalon and myelencephalon. Next one, brain stem and brain pons and medulla oblongata. It's a parts of the brain stem with rhombencephalon, and with metencephalon together will be developed cerebellum. Prosencephalon in the secondary brain vesicles delay to the telencephalon and diencephalon, and telencephalon it's a cerebrum with cerebral hemispheres, cortex, white matter, and basal nucleus, and in the internal structure of the cerebrum located lateral ventricles, first and second. Next one, it's a diencephalon with third ventricle. Brain stem, midbrain with cerebral aqueduct, and brain stem, pons and medulla oblongata with fourth ventricle. In a spinal cord, 2 present central canal, and all this is structure connecting. Other variant picture of first time 5 weeks with telencephalon, diencephalon, metencephalon, and brain stem. Next one, you in a 13 weeks, 26 weeks, you look, it's a flexible and change structure, for example, cerebral hemispheres with sulcus and gyrus, and for example here present insular loop. Next one, in a birth, newborn child present all structures same with adult, but time to time the biggest and bigger and bigger stay this structure. Brain develops from neural tube. Brain subdivides into forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Other variant, it's 6 parts of the brain. This all this structure with ventricle, aqueduct, or canal, Spinal cord also has a canal, and two major vents of the flexors occur with brain and cervical. Next one, it's differences between brain, some animals and human brain. You looked in a different dolphin, gorilla, dogs, cat, mouse, and different form and different structure, but in a development it's some same present, because anatomical classification is very important, not only in the human body, in a different structure. And spinal cord, central part, but it's as a second part of the central nervous system. Brain with cerebellum, medulla, pons, midbrain, diencephalon, and cerebrum. Cerebrum, remember please, cerebrum and encephalon, it's a differences. Encephalon, it doesn't mean all brain, and cerebrum, it's only part located hemispheres or hemisphere, cerebral hemispheres with internal structure too. Brain stem in green color, medulla oblongata, pons, midbrain, and diencephalon. And in the internal, white, gray matter, and some structure with in the hemisphere in the cerebrum, and some structure in its cerebellum. Cerebellum to have some structure with cerebellar cortex and white matter present too. White and gray matter in the internal section, for example, spinal cord, brain stem, and region of cerebellum, looked well located canal or cavity. Means this is structure present some inner gray matter, and gray matter means this is structure present in all region of the brain stem, and in this cavity, central cavity expanded, filled this cerebrospinal fluid or liquid cerebrospinal fluid moving in all structure, internal and external surface, brain and spinal cord. And continues with each other in the central canal of the spinal cord. Lateral ventricles, it's a blue color, lateral ventricles, right and left, or first and second. Next one, third ventricle, connecting after cerebral aqueduct. This is aqueduct located in a part of the brain, it's a midbrain. And fourth ventricle, it's a cavity between cerebellum and pons and medulla oblongata. Third ventricle in a diencephalon, and connection after interventricular foramen here. And cerebral aqueduct, interventricular foramen, as a name, it's a opening of Monroe. Monroe, it's a scientist who opened. Cerebral aqueduct, as a name, this structure, it's an aqueduct Sylvius. Maybe you'll find some information about Sylvius, and maybe some student make some 3 slides for next time about this. Is very interesting anatomist in Paris, in France. It's a 5th century. Aqueduct, cerebral aqueduct Sylvius, anatomist, very interesting person. And fourth ventricle connecting with lateral and median aperture with subarachnoidal space, and continue in a central canal of the spinal cord. Yeah. And subarachnoid space with aqua blue with this picture under this covering of all brain and spinal cord. Red color, it's some structure, hyoid plexus, all time produced and may circulation of the cerebrospinal liquid. Somewhere in picture about structure of the central nervous system in the brain, hindbrain or brain stem with two parts of the brain stem, pons and medulla with cerebellum. And next one, it's a midbrain, third part of the brain stem, diencephalon and cerebrum. Forebrain include cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Forebrain, hindbrain, pons, medulla, cerebellum, and three parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. It's a three parts in some classification for remembering. Cerebellum involved with higher brain function, processes sensory information, initiated motor function, and integrates information. Regions of the cerebellum specialize of a different function. It's will be next lecture, but today very good if you remember between parietal lobe and frontal lobe present central sulcus. Near central sulcus present motor cortex in a precentral gyrus, and somatosensory cortex, it's a post-central gyrus. It's two main parts of the cortex with different function, but very important because all our movie, it's starting in the motor cortex with Gain pyramid of the bats. It's very famous anatomist who was head of department in our university and long time, and very popular person in the world because in the old world, in the old books of the human anatomy writing, located open the bed cells. It's a fifth layers of the cortex in a central gyrus, and big portions is cells located. It's a Gain pyramid cells. Other names, this is cells. It's a bed cells. And in the internal, you can leave tractus. It's a ways for different tractus, for example, pyramid, and in a precentral gyrus, starting with Gain pyramid cells, pyramid tractus moving to the some region of the spinal cords, and moving information to the spinal nerves in some regions. And here it's a homunculus, sensory and motor homunculus. It's a place where in some regions of the cortex located, for example, information with tongue, lips, face, neck, in a hand, fingers, thumb, wrist, elbow, and knee and toes. It's one variant, frontal precentral motor homunculus, and parietal lobe with postcentral gyrus, in the postcentral gyrus. It's a primary somatosensory cortex in this gyrus. Here it's a person, Vladimir Alexeyevich Betz, and very popular morphologist and anatomist in the old world. Live in Ukraine and all long time work in our university. Maybe you was in this building in a Bogdan Khmelnytsky Street. It's a very interesting place, located now Museum of History of Medicine in Ukraine. If you want, you can visit Bogdan Khmelnytsky Street Museum of the History of Ukraine. Long time in this building was only Human Anatomy Department, University Saint Vladimir, and sixth layer. It's sum number 6 in a brain. Yeah, in a cortex present 6 layers with different structure and different cells and in a lamina pyramidalis interna located gyne pyramid cells with a big portion. This one, it's a picture with a special histological preparate of the beds. This structure, this preparate more than 150 years, and I make photo with this glasses, and it's really gyne pyramid cells of the beds in the precentral gyrus of cortex. Very popular and very famous scientist was in 1873 in a vein. Second place is in a manufacture, especially exhibition. Next one in St. Petersburg. This one, it's a brain, but all time information very popular. Only brain was interesting for this person. It's an unreal long time. Vladimir Alexeyevich had interesting about skull, about all skeleton structure, differences between, for example, skull in a neuron and in skull in a person who have some psychological problems. And psychologist, it's second clinic specialization. This person, and long time worked in a hospital psychiatric of Kiev. It's a special knife. It's a collection of the histological preparates of Vladimir Alexeyevich, and next time centers of the Broca was very popular in the whole world. It's a 52 centers in the cortex with different function. It's next time writing about this structure Brodmann, and 52 centers of the Broca, but first time it's starting download this information about some function in the cortex. It's a Vladimir Alexeyevich Betz.